It is so great to get in the forest again. I mean, every time I come back, it's like that forest reset. You know, there's this new idea it's actually an old idea called forest bathing. And forest bathing is this idea of getting out into the forest just to bathe in the clean air and the energy of the plants. So this is something I just love doing. It comes from Japan. It's a way of therapy to de-stress, to lower blood sugar, lower blood pressure, and bam, here we are in a beautiful, pristine part of the world with no stress. Today, we are here in Cumberland Forest to hang out with one of my favorite allies, this spiky little pokey guy. Do you guys know who this is? It's got these shiny, kind of leathery type leaves, a little bit of spikes. I happen to just love spiky plants. And this one is Oregon grape, or Mahonia aquifolium. Now this is everywhere in the West Coast forests. It is one of our best allies. It grows these little grape-like fruits, hence the name Oregon grape, and it has a bright yellow flower in the spring. So we're gonna use it today as medicine. So we're here to harvest this as medicine. But before we get started, I'm gonna give a little offering to the plant, as well as I wanna talk a little bit about it, how it shows up, and why we choose to use it. Sound good? Can't hear you.
Yes, why not?
All right, let's get started. This time of year, it's the time when we want to harvest the root. So it's just past the grape season, and it's time to get those little gnarly roots and use them as medicine. The biggest thing that I like to do is make sure that I am off the path. When it comes to wild harvesting, we don't want to be harvesting plants near the path, and because this one is so abundant, we're going to harvest it as far into the forest as we can go, where it's not going to cause any damage and people are going to be able to see it. So we found a beautiful patch with tons here, so we don't feel bad about harvesting a few of these. That's kind of the rule of thumb for harvesting. Now the other thing is that in this case, we have two options. We can either use the root, the whole root bark, or we can just take pieces off of a few different plants and they'll keep growing back. I'm gonna show you both methods, but before we get started, let's give a little offering to the plant, tell it who we are, tell it why we're here, and how it can work with us to make medicine for the people. Sound good? All right. When I come to ask plants for their medicine, I want to make sure that I am encouraging them with a communicational relationship expression of myself, which means I'm going to give them a medicine that I've grown. In this case, I actually grow this tobacco here just so I can give it to plants as medicine. So we're going to give them some of this tobacco before we get started, as well as I'm going to give them a little piece of myself, which sometimes in my case might be to offer them a hair or a song or some piece of my time. So in this case, I got a little hair here. I'm gonna leave it on the first Oregon grape that I'm gonna connect with. Thank you, Oregon grape. It's right there. And I'd like to offer you this tobacco as a thank you for coming with me as medicine today. I'm asking that you bring your medicine with me so that I can use it to help myself, my family, and those in my life who might need to work with your powers. Another piece of the forest reset and the thank you is it actually dials us back into the vibration of the plants. Now, we're moving a lot faster than they are. And so if we can slow ourselves down to their speed, we can start to connect more with the spirit of the plants. And with this one, you know, when we look at this plant, it's like, wow, this is a spiky plant. What does that spiky mean? It means protective. Spikes are there to break up stagnation, you know, to be protective, to show clear boundaries. So not only does this plant have that kind of clear boundaries on the mountain where it's like, here I am, you know, holding this space, protecting the understory, but it's also showing up like that in our body. So when we go to work with Oregon grape, it's one of the best herbs for moving out stagnation. It's one of the best herbs for moving out blockage and for giving kind of a protective coat to the whole intestinal membrane. This one in particular has a very specific group of alkaloids in it, and that's one of the reasons we use Oregon grape. Now, these alkaloids are found in a few other plants, but because this one is so much more abundant, it's the one we choose. It's got alkaloids called barberini. Now, the barberini are a bright yellow color. So when we open up this bark, see that bright yellow underneath there? That is the berberinic acid. This is an alkaloid that works on the mucous membranes of the body. Now we find this in golden seal, in coptis, in goldenrod, in a number of other herbs that have this kind of bright golden color. Because some of the other herbs are more rare, this is now becoming the herbalist choice. Now originally golden seal was one of the main herbalist choice for this, but it's almost extinct now. So Oregon grape is being used by a lot of herbalists and having really good results. Now what does the berberini do? Basically, this is an antimicrobial, antipathogen in the intestinal tract and in any of the mucosal membranes of the body. So in that sense, it'll help clear us from having dysentery, giardia, all these kinds of things. It's also quite bitter, which means that it works on the liver. So breaking up stagnation and helping to stimulate digestion in that sense. A little bit of this will give you that sour face. No, I actually happen to really like it, and it's some of those bitter flavors that have now become my friends because I know they're medicine. But you know what else they tell me? They tell me, whoa, not food, definitely medicine. Anything that is antipathogenic like this, antimicrobial like this, is also, and you gotta know this, it's anti-life to a degree. You are more bacteria than you are human by cell count. So in that sense, it's your ecology that makes you healthy, that makes your immune system, your real immune system. What herbs like this work as is a specific medicine to help target out of balance pathology within the ecology of the body. So if we have too much candida, we have a bacterial infection, we've got a fungal infection, or we have some kind of parasite, this might be a great herb to help us work with that. Even a common cold, the bitter compounds in here are also super stimulating to that liver, which happens to be, I call it the shipper receiver of the body. It gets everything going where it's gotta go. It produces some of the best chemistry for the body in that sense. So all of our oil metabolism happens in that aspect. If we have hard time with protein digestion, we have hard time digesting fats, or we're getting a lot of skin breakout, a lot of dry skin, these are all signs of liver imbalances. So Oregon grape can be a nice tonic before meals to have for helping with our liver and helping with digestion. So we bring in better nutrition into the body. So I might have that maybe 5 minutes before a meal, but again, specific. If I take this all the time on a regular basis, it's going to have that antimicrobial effect on the good guys in my intestinal tract as well. So it's going to take them all out over a period of time. So what we're after today is this root bark right here. That's what we're after. That's what we're going to be harvesting as medicine. Now, the two ways we can do this is we can either scrape down one side of this and then this plant will regrow, or we can pull the entire plant up. Now I tend to, in an area like this, pull one entire plant up versus wounding a whole bunch. Of course, I have come and just scraped the sides of them and they do regrow quite well. As soon as we ring it, just like any tree, we ultimately will kill it. So we're gonna leave that one like that for now. But that's where the most of the medicine is. The other thing about this bark is not only can we use it internally, we might make a tea or a tincture with it. Because it's an alkaloid, we're going to be making a 60% alcohol is going to be better. 60% alcohol is going to be best for extracting the berberinic acid. As a tea, we're going to do a decoction, which is a simmer for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then we might strain that off. With that, we could add a little bit of honey. That might be tasty. The other way, when we want to do this externally, is we can take that tea, dip it in a cloth, and put it on any kind of infected wound. So it'll help clean the wound in that sense. So we might put it on an infection or a scrape or a cut or something we don't want to get infected. Or we could take, ooh, like that. Yow. So we would make a tea and we'd take a cloth and dab it on that on a regular basis. Just keep dabbing it on that. And then we might wrap it with a fresh Band-Aid and then pull that off. Now another thing we could do for something like this is we could take this root bark once we've harvested it and we can dry it out and make it a powder. We take the powder and we put it right into that wound and then we wrap that with a cloth or with a Band-Aid in that sense. So that will kill any kind of infection that is starting to get in there. Open wounds like this are prone to infection. As you can see, they are all over here. So in this case, with this, now these are covered in moss here, but that moss is protecting it. We might peel some of this back. And in this case, I am going to harvest this one fully, all right? Now, because this is an underground rhizome, I can kind of dig it along, get my finger right in there, and pull all the way up. So now I've got most of that plant, as you can see. And with this, thank you, Oregon grape, I'm gonna pull back these bits. These are spiky, and I just love spiky plants. I feel like they're some of my favorite allies. So this is one that I've been working with for a long time, this Oregon grape. And there's something about, maybe I'm just spiky on an energetic level. Got a spider there. I just love plants that are gonna like cause me a little bit of grief. I gotta, ooh, watch out, blackberries, Oregon grape, holly, devil's club. These are some of my favorite plants. And I think it's that protective aspect of them, and maybe that's protective on an energetic level where we have this sort of spiritual protection as well. And working with a lot of plant medicine, I find people are always asking me all kinds of questions and wanting me to go deep into their health concerns. And the problem with that is when I'm sensitive and open, I end up falling right into what's going on for them and feeling it way too deep in my heart. So having protective plants like this really help me be more balanced and help me help other people, but without taking on their stuff, without having their issues penetrate too deeply into who I am and cause me to have imbalances. This is sweetgrass we harvested a few days ago, and I just light a little bit up on fire and kind of ask for the spirit of this medicine. Oregon grape, I appreciate you. You're a long-standing brother of mine. And I want to bring you today into the fold of other people's knowledge. We're making a video to help share some of your amazing benefits with people around. And I'm hoping out of this, their spirit connects with your spirit. So I'm giving an offering of thanks and gratitude for all that you are. And may the spirit be the medicine. Okay, so before I get started, I just want to show you a few of the tools I'm going to use. One, for scraping this, I'm always going to have a little knife like this. Now I use a mushrooming knife because I might also brush off some of the extra stuff that's on here. Kind of clean it up, and we're going to use that to scrape down the bark like so. Here, this is where the medicine is. That's what we're going to use. Now, in order to clean this up, say if I'm digging down, I might use what I call as a hori-hori, and this is a Japanese gardening tool, but it works really good for getting down in there and kind of finding those roots, right? So I can use it, get right down, and help me pull up those roots. It's got a sharp blade and a serrated blade. So I might use it like this to cleave it off. The other tool that I tend to like to use is a nice pair of clippers, like so. Now these type of clippers are gonna be great for, say I got a part here I wanna clip off, or if I wanna put them into smaller pieces, I can use them like that. Now some people, when we harvest Oregon grape, they'll harvest it like this, where they're harvesting it into little pieces. We'll just clip them along like that. Those little pieces can be great for tea. You know, if we wanna just kind of harvest them like that. But where the real medicine is gonna be is in this yellow. Now, this is a big part of the herbal processing. So we might do this at home for more. I might take these home, harvest like 10 or 12 out of the forest, maybe 20, 30, depending on if I'm making a tincture or tea. And then I will take it home and carve it up that night. If we don't carve it up right away, it gets harder. Like so. There we go. Now I have a few shavings that I can show you. Those are what we're gonna make tincture with, or if we're gonna dry it out and we'll powder it, and that's what we could put onto wounds. So the tincture will be taken internally, and this might be powdered and put onto wounds, or just made into a tea, like so. After that, we will discard this root bark. Now, I've also had some folks tell me that when they're in areas where the stream water, they're not 100% sure, where they might get beaver fever or that kind of thing, they'll take some of these Oregon grape roots and they'll open them up and cut them, just like so. They'll kind of sliver them. Let me give you a full example. Take a piece like this, and they'll kind of cut into them. I'll make little cuts to kind of expose that medicine. And they'll cut them in like that, and just kind of expose this medicine, and then they'll stick that into the water. This might help kill some of the pathogens in the water. So I'm not gonna say this is a magic bullet, aka gross dirty water, stick Oregon grape in, you're gonna be safe to drink it. But this is what some people I know are doing when they go out into the bush and they go hiking a bit more. They're just opening up the Oregon grape and sticking it in their water bottle to help kill any pathogens. This will have a slightly bitter flavor, but it will work with Salmonella, E. coli, all these kinds of things. It's antibacterial, antimicrobial. So those are the main factors that it really works with. So even if I got dysentery or giardia, or if I got beaver fever in the forest, I'd be making serious amounts of Oregon grape tea to help work with that kind of thing. So it is one of those really good bacteria medicines that we can work with. The other thing about Oregon grape is it's actually a lot gentler than golden seal. So when we're working with children and elderly, and we want to get that kind of berberini pump working in the body, where it's helping getting the liver kind of processing and killing pathogens in the mucosal membrane, Oregon grape is one of the more gentle ones that we can work with. So even before golden seal became more extinct, we'd be using this as a medicine for children and elderly. It's a better alternative. So golden, isn't that beautiful? If we're gonna take the whole plant, we also want to be able to make sure, because it is a rhizome, so it goes laterally across. We're gonna take it and go all the way along and follow it along this ground, and we might see where it's connecting up with some other plants here. Wow, look at that one. That's a beaut. Thank you, Oregon grape. Today, I'm gonna bring you home as medicine. I appreciate you. I love how you show up here in the West Coast forests, all spiky. You know, the thing about these kind of plants, if you look all around here, you'll see a lot of these, and there's chi, there's vitality in a plant like this. It's vigorous, it's tough. I can't cut this with my knife. I need to use these clippers to cut it down. It's almost impossible. This is a vigorous, powerful, chi-filled plant. It's got a lot of energy, and we can use that energy for healing in the right situations, for protecting the body, for stimulating the liver, for getting the digestive system functioning. It's even got a slight laxative effect, so it's gonna push stuff out of the body, in a sense, expelling toxins, moving stagnation, removing waste. This is where Oregon grape really shines. All right, shall we carve a bit more?
Yes.
I think so. Sure. Sure, says the Oregon grape. Oregon grape flowers are really, really yummy. I tend to like to eat the flowers in the spring. They have a little bit of sweet to the tart. You know, they're a nice spring food. I'll eat them in the spring, just nibble on them a little bit, and they're not quite as strong in flavor, so they're definitely palatable. The other piece of this plant that we might use is the berries. Now, the berries, I've made a few things with that. One year I made an Oregon grape port, and it was beautiful. Really nice, robust, kind of fortified wine. We made a really strong Oregon grape port, and we used just a small amount of that, but it's also really good for making Oregon grape jelly, and we did that one year too, where you kind of make the jelly out of the Oregon grape berries, and it's really simple. All you got to do is cook it down, remove the seeds, because the seeds are quite bitter, and in fact, if you're just going to eat them fresh, I tend to put a handful of 3 or 4 Oregon grapes in my mouth. I don't know. Move it around my mouth, spit out the seeds. When we're making a jelly, we're gonna add some pectin, and really simply, like any other jelly recipe, people have won awards for their Oregon grape jelly because it's that good. Really wanted to get out and share Oregon grape with you. This is one of my favorite plant allies of the West Coast. It's abundant, it's powerful, it's a great reminder, it's all around you. So even if you don't use it as medicine like this, the medicine is just in spending time with it and getting out into the forest. I would say that the more time you get out to see Oregon grape, the better you will feel. So get out and check out this plant and tell me what you think about it. I'd love to hear from all of you what you like about Oregon grape, because I know that this is a medicine ally for a lot of you. And as a herbal community, it's important for us to be sharing and commenting and communicating and growing this herbal resurgence, herbal revolution together. So please let me know what you think about Oregon grape, how you like to use it, and different ways you might want to prepare it. Thanks for hanging out with me and Oregon grape, and we hope to see you next time on some herbal adventures here on the West Coast.